Hey everyone. Today I wanted to do a video about the current state of our country and kind of the trends, the directions we're heading as far as how it's almost like all these laws and all this stuff that's happening are meant more to protect the criminals than the average citizen here in the United States. And this is kind of going on around the world as well. You see a lot of uprisings and stuff. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what that means as far as when we, as preppers, we think about the civil unrest aspect of all this stuff and what that means. You see these people that live in their gated communities, these people that work in their government buildings, making these laws, and they really have no idea what things are like down here on this level. You've got, all they do is they kind of go with the trends, the popular opinion. You saw the stuff going on with BLM in the past couple of years, where these politicians are bailing people out of jail. They're actually helping the criminals, and the people that are actually trying to defend themselves are the ones that are under scrutiny, Rittenhouse and stuff like that. So I wanted to talk about that stuff today, and where we're kind of, it's kind of frustrating seeing where we're going. You've got in Washington, I think this week at some point, they're going to talk about more assault weapon bans, trying to go after a bunch of different styles of AR-15s or probably accessories, stuff that will do nothing to solve these problems. But they want to put this stuff through just to appease their base, to do whatever it is, whittle away at the Second Amendment. So what got me thinking about this was the other day, this shooting happened in Indiana. And my thoughts and prayers go out to the families of the three that were killed in this shooting. But this could have been a whole lot worse. This situation was stopped by a bystander who had a concealed carry firearm. Now, I'm pretty sure that in this mall, it was a gun-free zone. So thank God that somebody actually ignored that rule. Somebody other than the killer ignored that rule and went in there and ended this. But my point with this is you don't hear about this story. Yes, it's been reported a little bit here and there. Some of these websites and news agencies, cable news and all that will do a little quick segment so they can say they reported on it. But when a good guy with a gun does something and stops something, you don't hear about it like you hear about these other shootings and these other things that kind of reinforce that gun control narrative. Now, in this shooting, this guy locked himself in the bathroom or went into the bathroom for like an hour and waited till closing time, waited till, it was the easiest, softest target possible. And had a few guns and had a whole bunch of ammunition. So this could have been one of those things that got all the media attention and all that, but it was stopped by this bystander. So while it's horrible that 3 people were killed with this, it could have been a whole lot worse. And you don't see this stuff on the news. And my frustration with this stuff is that these are the types of things, these are the types of situations where these whack jobs that are out there thinking about this stuff, and they see this stuff on the news all the time and think, I can make a name for myself, suicide plus. I can do all this stuff. If they were to see stuff like this on the news all the time, they'd probably think twice, or some of them would. They'd think twice about, hey, is this a good idea to go in and do this or not? How am I going to get blasted before I even get a chance to go? But the news agencies, the politicians, all these people don't want people thinking like this. I'm sure their thought process is that, then everybody, it's going to be like the wild, wild west, right? Everybody with the gun's going to be going around and people are just going to get capped for, for smaller crimes, or somebody is, trying to rob a place, doesn't have a weapon, and all of a sudden they get capped or something like that. My opinion on this whole situation is that anybody that goes through the process of getting a concealed carry permit is most likely not going to be that type of person. Is it possible that something like that or situations like that arise? Sure it is. I mean, it's always possible. But at the same time, if these situations like that, the parade on the 4th of July, if that situation was stopped a little bit earlier, there would be less casualties, and that if that was a news story, the aspect of this was ended, this was stopped by a good Samaritan, then maybe people would stop thinking about this stuff. But instead, you see the stuff like that, the stuff that went on in Uvalde. This situation right here was handled absolutely 100% the wrong way. And this goes to our expectation of security. People in this country, as they talk about these gun control measures and they talk about all this stuff, and you let the police handle the situation for you. This is the type of situation that we always talk about. And this was handled just about as bad as you could. And I was thinking about this in my small town. It would probably be even worse than this because these, the teachers in this school district got lax, didn't follow the procedures they were supposed to. The disorganization and, 376 officers, and one didn't know what the next one was doing. Just it go down the line of all the mistakes that were made in this type of situation. So to think that the police officers and the law enforcement and all that in this country are going to be able to protect us at all times is ridiculous to me. Now, granted, they do the best they can, and they're people too, just like us. So, if at all possible, you know what? That's fantastic. Get in there, help, do what you can. It's your job, not mine. All of that stuff. But I'm not going to be dependent on that type of situation. And along with, stuff like this, with cops being human, you've also, the last couple of years, this whole defund the police rhetoric that has gone on, which has caused, more problems for inner cities and stuff like that because of the actions of a few bad cops. So instead of trying to train, instead of trying to fix these problems, the answer is just defund it. And this got a lot of play from politicians and all of that as well. So my point with all of this stuff is that this goes to, as they're trying to take away these guns, as we are going through this inflation and these shortages and all of these different things, why it seems to me that it is about the worst possible time to be giving away your guns and to, being dependent on the government and the powers that be for your protection. It just, to me, this is a really bad time because we've seen uprisings across the world. We've seen, the shortages and all that, what those things are, the green agenda and all that in Europe. We've seen this stuff starting to kick off a little bit. And it makes me wonder about that, the food riot aspect of it, the civil unrest aspect of it. You can go into a grocery store, you can go into any store in New York, California, basically take whatever you want, and you're not going to get arrested for it. You've got these liberal DAs that are protecting, they're more concerned about the criminal than they are the victim. In New York, you saw this guy that was defending his little shop, the Pagoda out there. Let me see, I got this slide here. You've got this guy that was just defending his shop from this guy and actually got charged with murder. Now, I saw today that this guy is actually, they're not charging him with murder. They dropped the charges on this guy, which is fantastic. But this is the mentality of the country that we're living in these days, where somebody can go into your store, beat the crap out of this dude, and then the dude gets charged because the dude fought back. In New York, they have a law that's the, what is it called? The duty to retreat law. And this law, so basically, if somebody's whacking you upside the head and you have an opportunity to leave, it's your duty to do that rather than defend yourself. And this is that backwards mentality that we have in the country these days. This is the quote unquote civilized society that we live in these days, is you don't have the right to defend yourself, which goes to the fact of know your laws. Because as we talk about this civil unrest with all of this stuff going on, and we talk about the possibilities of some of the stuff that could happen down the line, know what the laws are in your state, in where you are, where you may be traveling. Here where I live, they're far different than if I were to just go an hour or two into Denver. and the laws in Denver are far different than the ones out here. So I need to understand that when I'm going there, and that's the place where something is most likely to kick off when you talk about civil unrest and all that. But when I'm going into there, I know there's a certain set of rules that I got to follow and a lot of rights that I lose as an individual for self-defense and all of that. Know all of that stuff. But I think this right now it's I've said this a few times. This is more urgency that I've had as far as preparedness and where we're going as a country than I think I've ever had as far as preparedness is concerned, because there are just so many things that could kick off that lead to one thing after another in this country that I just don't know how the next few months are going to go. We've seen all the signs with the food shortages, and we've seen the supply shortages. We've seen all that, and how much worse does all of that stuff get? We've got the inflation, which is already pretty bad. So how much worse is that going to get? And what types of situation are those going to cause? Because those could be civil unrest situations. Civil unrest and riots and stuff like that are never the initial cause of something. Something always happens. You look at the stuff that happened on January 6th. That can be traced back years to all the way back to even before Trump got elected. Ask yourself why Trump got elected. And that's the frustration that the American people felt with the systems and all of that stuff, which led up to everything else down the line and led to that. You look at the George Floyd stuff and the protests and the BLM and all of that stuff built up over time and ended up in a situation like that. So we don't know. My whole point with this is we don't know what that catalyst is going to be. But it sure seems like, to me, there's a whole lot of fuses that could be lit at this point. And one after another, I mean, who knows how it goes. It seems like the powers, that our elected leaders don't give a crap about the United States anymore. They're more concerned with everything that's going on overseas. They're more concerned about the corporations and the people with a whole lot of money, the people that can get them reelected. They don't care about the people in this country. And you haven't seen this administration specifically do anything to help out the American people. And I think that frustration is going to build. So when you have that frustration building on top of not being able to put food on your table, and what they're concerned about is gender identity and all that crap, and we're concerned about putting food on our damn table. When people start to feel that frustration, when people can't pay their mortgages, when people are starting to get foreclosed on and become homeless and all that, that is when this stuff starts to kick off. And when you see all of this stuff happening with defending the criminals more than you're defending the actual citizens, you have to wonder what types of trouble are we going to get into just for defending ourselves if something like this does kick off? Because it's not going to be a full-scale Mad Max apocalypse type situation that we kind of think about sometimes. It will be small, it will be localized, it will be sporadic, and we could find our situation where we are in legal trouble. So again, know the laws where you are, know your rights, know what you can do, what you can't do, and all of that stuff. Because I just have this feeling, and who knows? I mean, we don't know what's going to happen here in the near future and all of that, but it very well could. My threat radar is ticking in high gear right now, and maybe it all just kind of relaxes. I'm planning the odds. The way I think about it, the odds are far greater that something is going to happen than nothing. And what that something is, I don't know, because like I said, there's 15 different things that could kick off. So along with taking care of myself here at home, along with doing the food storage and all of the stuff that I can do here on a personal level, and then thinking about locally what things are possible, and then you expand out with the national stuff and the global stuff, because that's the stuff you have to pay attention to that could be making its way into your neighborhood. We look at all the different civil unrest and protests and stuff like that overseas. That stuff could be making its way here to the United States. We are going to be, I think, down the line as far as who is affected by this stuff. But once it gets here, Americans don't take a whole lot of crap. So it won't take, and we're already at fever pitch anyway, one side against another, or three sides against each other, not just one or the other. But we're already at fever pitch anyway. So situations, I think are just bound to arise here coming in the next few months, because the politicians, the leaders, don't give a crap if it happens or not. And honestly, in my opinion, and I got to say, in my opinion here, a lot of this stuff seems to me to be intentional. The fuel prices, the energy prices, all seem to be intentional. I don't know that they planned on Putin invading Ukraine. I don't know that they didn't. So I can't really say that the food crisis stuff is necessarily intentional. But I know the fact that they're the way that they're, the things that are going on in Europe, where the farmers are protesting and all that. I know the way the food system works and all of that. There's a lot of intentionality behind all of that stuff as well. So to one extent, the food stuff is intentional, but the energy stuff is absolutely intentional. I think this soft on crime mentality is 100% intentional. These DAs that are soft on crime, I think this stuff has been put together for years now, and it's finally getting to the point where they're seeing. I don't know if I want to call it the payoff or not, because I don't know that it's going the way they thought it was going to go. Or maybe it is. Maybe this is exactly how they thought it was going to go. And this is the type of things that they want. Again, this is all my opinion here. These are the type of things they want in order to usher in some sort of new agenda. I don't want to say new society necessarily, but usher in what their main goal is. So I don't know. I guess my whole point with this is it started off looking at this shooting that happened in the mall and this Good Samaritan that actually did something about it. And then looking at all the other things where it's almost, defending yourself is almost criminalized these days, and protecting yourself and being self-sufficient and doing all these things is almost looked down upon if you're not following the mainstream herd. It's looked down upon, and you should just do what the government says because they have the best interest in mind for you, and they know what to do. These people sitting in their ivory towers know exactly how we should operate down here, even though they really aren't paying attention to us. But they know what's best for us, and they know what's best for society. So it just got me thinking about all that stuff, and this being the worst time that I can remember to be having this stuff go through, where they're trying to take the guns and they're trying to, defund the police, and they've demeaned police to the point where a lot of people don't even want to become police officers anymore. And why would they? So it just seems like a really volatile time, and I think it's time to kind of up your threat level, up your situational awareness, pay attention to all of this stuff, because I think something could kick off, and it's possible that it doesn't as well, I suppose. But I think that something down the line could kick off. So along with working on our own individual level preparedness, think about this stuff as well. So at any rate, if you guys have any thoughts, any comments on this, where you see things going, leave a comment below in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure and subscribe, and we will talk to everyone later.